tonight. President Museveni has asked for forgiveness from the government and people of Kenya following hostile posts by his son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, on Twitter.
Purchase shares as well as start the saving.
As teachers mark World Teachers' Day, government assures arts teachers that the pledge to enhance their salaries will be honored in the next financial year. Also tonight, Ebola claims another medical doctor at Fort Portal Regional Hospital as the country struggles to contain the deadly disease. And in sports, the under-17 national team in last training session in Addis Ababa ahead of their match against South Sudan tomorrow in the under-17 AFCON CECAFA Zone qualifiers. It is the 5th day of October 2022. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is CTV's PM edition. My name is Bernadette Apio. Also on the program, Isaac Luchamuzi. The big story of the day, President Museveni has asked for forgiveness from the government and people of Kenya over hostile posts by his son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, on Twitter, made on Monday. In a letter dated October 5th, General Museveni says General Muhoozi was wrong to make the comments on the affairs of Kenya, considered as a brotherly country. More in this report.
On Tuesday, the day after Muhoozi's comments, General Museveni, the commander-in-chief of the UPDF, dropped him from the post of commander of land forces but promoted him the rank of general, the highest rank in the UPDF. On Monday, Muhoozi took to his official social media page on Twitter and proclaimed that it would take him and his army just 2 weeks to capture Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. The tweet sparked mixed reactions from Ugandan and Kenyans, especially on social media. Museveni says in his letter that he is also sorry to the Ugandans who could have been annoyed by one of their officials meddling in the affairs of brother Kenya. Much as Museveni appreciates Muhoozi as a passionate Pan-Africanist, he should have used the correct method for Pan-Africanists, which is confidential interaction or using the available mechanism like the East African Community and African Union, since he is a public officer. Museveni, who used the apology to hail Kenya's recent peaceful elections, says that he has conveyed all those views confidentially to Kenyan President William Ruto. He said, "I ask our Kenyan brothers and sisters to forgive us for tweets sent by General Muhoozi, former commander of land forces here, regarding the election matters in that great country." He added, "The only available legitimate forum is the peer review mechanism of the African Union or the confidential interactions amongst us or East African Community and the African Union fora, not public comments. Why then promote him to full general after these comments?" According to Museveni, this is because this mistake is one aspect where he has acted negatively as a public officer. He says there are, however, many other positive contributions the general has made and can still make. Muhoozi is not shy about airing his views on foreign policy. On several occasions, he has expressed his own opinions on various topics such as last year's coup in Guinea and the war in northern Ethiopia. However, Museveni has never commented on his son's previous comments.
You can't express regret over the remarks in one voice, but on the other, you are promoting the person on whose behalf you are apologizing to the country. That's contradictory. This is very unfortunate. It is not an embarrassment to the president and the first son. It is an embarrassment to the rest of the country. And I think at an appropriate time or now, General Muhoozi should be the first, because he's of majority age.
I thought it was a joke, and up to now I still think it's a joke, because I wouldn't expect a senior officer of government of that caliber to make such statements.
His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, a revolutionary leader, tested. What he has done is a noble act, and it's a good gesture for the spirit of Umoja, for the spirit of Pan-Africanism. I think and I believe wholly that it was timely, because the messages that we are going through, the parading and the discussions that we are engaging may have been misconstrued and probably would lead to edgy diplomatic relations between the two countries.
Kuno Dasimali Nitwe, PM edition.
The Minister for Kampala, Mr. Kabanda, says government is still committed to honor its pledge to enhance salaries of arts teachers. During celebrations to mark the World Teachers' Day in Kawempe, Kampala, Kabanda said government's position on the pledge has not changed.
Teachers in Uganda celebrated the World Teachers' Day in various parts of the country. The celebrations were organized at district, municipality, and city levels. Teachers from Kampala, Central, Kawempe, Makindye, Nakawa, and Lubaga division gathered at Akamwesi Gardens in Kawempe division to celebrate the day. This was the first of its kind since 2019, before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister for Kampala urged arts teachers to remain resilient as government plans to enhance their salaries. This financial year, government enhanced salaries of science teachers, which sparked opposition from the arts teachers.
Because it's there on cabinet, and we are still working on you. It's because of COVID that we did not work on you, but with time we're going to work on art teachers, and I know the president has it and is going to work on it. So just be patient.
Kabanda says schools based in Kampala would get land titles to prevent their land from land grabbers.
You should grabbing that land, and how are they grabbing the land? We had talked about securing land titles for all those schools, especially government schools. I think you take this message to the mayor, you take this message to the council, that we learn to see that we have to see that all the land cycles are secured and they're in safe custody.
Robert Ruhinda, chairperson of UNATU, Kawempe Division, asked government to offer special allowances to the teachers in Kampala.
A teacher in Kampala lacks accommodation. I requested that teachers should be, teachers' villages can be built in each of the 5 divisions of Kampala, which can reduce on the amount, which can reduce on the accommodation problems of teachers. Teachers in Kampala don't have any health scheme. Whenever you are sick, you are discarded.
James Juko, the chairperson, Kampala Primary Head Teachers Association, says teachers are grappling with various challenges.
The prices of commodities have gone so high, but our income has remained the same. But also the learners we are dealing with suffered COVID-19, and that time when they didn't have people to care for them and they lived by themselves, their behavior is terrible.
Although the teachers are believed to be at the forefront of transforming education in society, they claim that their efforts have been frustrated by intended and deliberate moves to favor only one category of the science teachers. Tony Patila Humza, CTV, PM edition.
Thank you, Tony. Now, relatedly, every year on October 5th, teachers all over the world celebrate the World Teachers' Day. The day is meant to recognize the contribution of teachers in the development of society. Now, earlier, members of the Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union held a press conference in Kampala and thanked the government for enhancing their salaries.
The General Secretary of the Association, Aaron Mugaiga, thanked government for enhancing their salaries this year, which has improved their welfare. The increment was made after a 1-month strike. He said the quality of teachers is key in ensuring quality education in any country.
And then purchase shares as well as start the saving. We believe that this circle is the answer to the questions that have been on and had caused the teaching fraternity to be trodden on because of poverty that has been striking it for quite long.
He, however, said the working conditions in most schools is still wanting and should be improved. The teachers launch a circle which is meant to make teachers access soft loans at affordable interest rates to set up projects that would improve their incomes.
Potential scientists have been suffocated. Schools which the funding for science activity has been diminishing. So, as a union, we are coming up to ensure that we advocate so that the teaching of science is equitable in all schools. But also we are looking at improving the welfare of our members. We are looking at making sure that we offer the best service, because science is now the catching in terms of national development. So we are, for us being at the apex of organizing the teachers who are actually the incubators.
He said the government should involve, trust, invest and respect teachers when it comes to decision making. The Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union has over 12,000 registered members. Government promised to enhance salaries of arts teachers in the next financial year. The arts teachers had staged a strike to protest the selective method of improving salaries for civil servants. Kevin Kasoma, CTV, PM Edition.
The Minister of Education, Janet Museveni, has commended teachers for their contribution to the country's development. In a message to mark the World Teachers' Day, the First Lady emphasized the teachers' responsibility to ensure that all children enjoy their right to education. Take a listen.
Government, we emphasize the importance we attach to teachers by the ambitious policy goals we have set to transform the profession through the National Teachers Policy 2019 that Cabinet approved.
She asked members of the public to support the transformation of teachers' working conditions, which improves the quality of education.
And this year, Cabinet also approved the principles for the teacher bill that will see the establishment of the National Teacher Council, among others, to institutionalize the reforms we want to see in the teaching profession.
She says government postponed the official celebrations to November 11th.
That because we have not celebrated with you today, we will still celebrate this day on the 11th of November 2022. So please know that even if we have not celebrated with you, I felt duty bound to give you a message that you may know that we have not forgotten your day, but we couldn't do it with you, but we will still do it on the 11th of November 2022.
The General Secretary of Uganda National Teachers Union, Philbert Baguma, says the celebrations will give teachers an opportunity to reaffirm the central role they play in shaping the future of education. However, there was a misunderstanding when members of UNETU, through their General Secretary, informed the Ministry of Education that they will not go to class today in order to mark their day. The Ministry of Education, however, warned teachers against the move, saying they do not have the right to declare any day a public holiday. The day was marked in various parts of the country.
Happy World Teachers' Day to all teachers across the world. A PM Edition takes a short break and returns after. Don't go away. Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're still watching a PM edition. Now talking health, another health worker has succumbed to the deadly Ebola virus at Fort Porter Regional Referral Hospital as the country struggles to contain the spread of the disease. Margaret Nabisubi, an anesthetic officer attached to Mubende Regional Referral Hospital, was among the 6 people who were rushed to Fort Porter Hospital after contracting Ebola. Chris Amakola has this report.
Death of the latest victim of the Ebola virus was broken this morning by the Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, through her social media platforms. The latest Ebola victim has since been identified as Margaret Nabisubi, a 58-year-old anesthetic officer who was among the 6 health workers transferred to Fort Porter Regional Referral Hospital from Mubende, where she contracted the disease from. According to Dr. Alex Adaku, the Fort Porter Regional Referral Hospital director, Nabisubi died at 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
Lost one of the patients. This is Margaret Nabisubi, who was the anesthetic officer working in Uganda Regional Referral Hospital. She died this morning at around 4:30 a.m.
Nabisubi is the second health worker to die of Ebola in a space of a week, following the death of Dr. Muhammad Ali from Tanzania, who was buried recently at Public Cemetery in Fort Porter City. The death of the health workers comes a week after President Yoweri Museveni revealed that disease is easy to contain. Since the outbreak was announced last month, confirmed cases have increased to 43 and the deaths have also increased to 9 as of Tuesday.
We have continued to manage our patients, treat the patients who were referred to us from the Regional Referral Hospital. Most of these were health workers. We had 6 health workers. Then we also had another positive that we discovered.
According to Dr. Adaku, plans are underway to have the deceased buried in Mityana district today. During the graduation of more than 300 health workers at Fort Porter College of Health Sciences today, the State Minister of Education in charge of higher education, Dr. John Muyingo, also took time to talk about health workers who have died in the line of duty. According to the World Health Organization, the case fatality rate for the disease ranges from 25% to 90%. This is higher than that of COVID-19, whose case fatality rate is at around 3%. According to the Health Ministry, Ebola is transmitted through contact with the blood, stool, or fluids of an infected person and objects that have been contaminated with body fluid from an infected person.
A ban that was slapped on Rwenzori Rare Minerals Limited from mining in Busoga sub-regions has been lifted. In May, Prime Minister Robina Nabanja stopped Rwenzori Rare Metals Limited from extracting rare earth minerals in the country.
During a meeting that was chaired by Nabanja at the office of the Prime Minister, it was resolved that the ban on Rwenzori Rare Minerals be lifted.
The ban that had been instituted on rare earths or Rwenzori has been lifted with effect from today.
Nabanja says that the stakeholders meeting resolved on a number of issues aimed at protecting the project affected persons and also ensure economic value of the mining project.
Then we shall sensitize our people, the communities in those districts where we have that resource, to appreciate this rare mineral and tell them that they will benefit in short, medium and long term.
Peter Lokeres, the Minister of State for Minerals, says that this project has the potential to improve livelihoods of the people of Busoga.
Potential Ugandan contractors, subsidy providers have been requested to submit proposals in various fields and proposals being reviewed. Exploration is still ongoing within the project area with a view to increase mineral resource.
Abdu Kituntu, the Bugweri County MP, says they had rejected the project because the investors had not involved local leaders.
Because what the investor was doing was running around with our people, with the draft memorandum, I talk about it, without government.
No,
I looked.
We are asking where government, where are you?
Where are you?
Now government is here.
The delay of signing of the memorandum of understanding has halted most of the activities that they would have done, because they cannot acquire a license without signing MOU with the project beneficiary persons.
Warren Tregutha, the Chief Executive Officer of Rwenzori Rare Minerals, says that they are happy that the government has lifted the ban on their activities.
The endorsement from the Ugandan government has been spectacular. All the parties have come to agreement and an understanding on the way forward, and it's nice that a clear set of resolutions has been passed, and they're all achievable and pragmatic.
Rwenzori Rare Metals Limited is a private Ugandan company developing the Makutu Rare Earths project in Bugweri, Bujiri and Mayuge districts.
In Parliament, members on the Forum of Food Security, Population and Development Committee have finalized plans to table a private members' bill on food security, safety and nutrition 2022. The bill seeks to ensure that a government puts in place a mechanism to end food scarcity and malnutrition in Uganda.
According to the MPs on the forum, it's high time for them to table a private members' bill in Parliament on food security, which will press government to support Ugandans produce more food. Anton Akol, the chairperson for the forum, says plans for tabling the bill are in place.
Where is the reserve for the nation? Where is the reserve to help the people of Karamoja, that we can make sure that people don't starve, people don't die in the 21st century when people are dying of hunger? As the forum, we have decided to take on the law as private members' bill to make sure we have a law on food security, food safety, and food and nutrition in this country. And we want the different departments of government, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Health, to come in to support us in the process, to make sure we are updated in our implementation. Otherwise, the country is heading for doom.
Members sitting on the forum says it's very unfortunate that in this era, government has to be reminded to provide measures in the country which stop famine.
Actually constrained to talk to you, not because we are not aware where we're supposed to address, but many papers have been written at different fora and different levels, but the government is not bothered, and that's a very big problem. It is also a shame that Uganda can talk about food insecurity. Basically, when you look at our soils and the two seasons, we'll be now the regional food basket. It is a very big shame talking about starvation in Uganda.
Uganda is an agricultural country. 68 to 70% of us rely on agriculture, and this agriculture is natural. We rely on rain-fed agriculture. So what has caused the state of food security in this country becoming more poorer and poorer?
They want government to provide short-term and long-term measures to end food scarcity.
The time of climate change has come. We are with it. As much as we needed to put mitigative measures, we needed to go ahead, and the government needed to put programs in place to build resilient communities. Resilient communities that will be able to adapt to the situation, because the situation has come, it is not going away tomorrow.
I believe we must be put to task as an appropriation organ to address these issues. People who are dying of hunger are Ugandans, and the country has an obligation to ensure that its people are not dying of hunger.
They want government to increase the money injected in the agriculture sector, as well as conserving the environment to avoid climate change.
The budget to State House. We're not talking about Office of the President, but State House. occupied by a few individuals. And then you look at the budget allocated to the 43 million Ugandans to do with the food. Our chairman elaborated, talked about the constitution. A constitutional obligation. That's why we swear by the constitution. So parliament as an appropriation organ and government, we all swear to abide by the constitution. Not just the book, but the contents. And it's very clear. Those directives are real directives that you must provide food. We are here.
According to the statistics from Food and Agriculture Organization, 11% of Ugandans face food scarcity. Sarah Nakandi for CTV PM Edition.
Still in Parliament, members of Parliament have been asked to develop participatory approaches towards ending natural disasters that are becoming rampant. According to the Uganda Red Cross Society, disasters like drought, landslides, among others, continue to be among the annual occurrences the country has to deal with.
During a meeting between members of Parliament and members of Uganda Red Cross Society, lawmakers vowed to legislate with the intention of preventing other than responding to disasters. Stakeholders in the fight against the disasters believe it's high time the discussion on disasters took a bottom-up approach.
Because whatever we are doing, our actions today are going to affect future generations. And therefore there is need for us to ensure that as we cut trees, let us ensure that we plant trees. And this can only be done if government engages the local leaders. The LOCs are not being involved in climate change. Climate change is being discussed at a different level, but not at the grassroots level. And this has to change.
So, do the community members, are they aware of the likelihoods of the emergencies or disasters? Who makes them aware? How do you make them appreciate? How do you make them become buy into it? But where need to be, how do you enforce it? Because at times you have to enforce it.
The call comes at a time when the Uganda Red Cross Society is calling for a forecast-based financing. They say this is a method that can be used to save lives while spending less on disasters that occur.
So the starting point is, can we avert the disasters? That's part of forecast. Now, two, if we know that by all means they will happen, how can we work towards minimizing the negative impact on livelihoods, but also on lives? And so it is like, let's invest where these emergencies may not happen, but when they happen, we invest to make sure that we don't have adverse negative impact.
Some members of Parliament, however, are concerned that there is segregative implementation of directives on environmental conservation.
Because currently we are seeing a contradiction where government is telling people to get out of the wetlands and, free the wetlands. But on the other hand, we are also seeing government giving, clearance to investors to actually invest or, construct in the wetlands. That's a contradiction.
Government recently launched a 5-year disaster risk management plan. While this plan is believed to be good, there are concerns whether it will be effectively financed and implemented. Ramson Mihure, CTV PM Edition.
You are still watching a PM Edition. In news from the region, Ethiopia's Prime Minister's National Security Advisor says that the government has accepted an invitation by the African Union to participate in peace talks aimed at ending a 2-year conflict rival with Tigray forces. Announced that it has accepted an invitation from the African Union to hold peace talks with rebels in the northern region of Tigray without specifying a date or location. The government of Ethiopia accepted the invitation in line with its principal position regarding the peaceful resolution of the conflict and the need for talks without preconditions. In a statement, the Ethiopian Government Communication Service said that the AU had communicated in its invitation the date and venue of the talks but gave no further details. No details of the participants have been released yet, including whether neighboring Eritrea has been invited. The Tigray rebels have always said they would refuse to allow Asmara to attend any talks. The AU has reportedly set up a troika of mediators consisting of former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, the organization's special envoy to the Horn of Africa, and former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, as well as former South African Vice President Pumzile Mlambo. After a 5-month truce that raised hopes for peace negotiations, fighting resumed on August 24th in northern Ethiopia between Tigrayan rebels and the Federal Ethiopian Army, backed by forces from the Tigray border regions and Eritrea. U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa, Mike Hammer, returned to the region on October 3rd after a previous visit in September to achieve an immediate cessation of hostilities in northern Ethiopia and support the launch of peace talks under the auspice of the African Union, according to a State Department statement. On the international scene, defying international law, Russian President Vladimir Putin moved to officially annex 4 partly occupied regions of Ukraine, while student protests in Iran continue to escalate. Videos shared online show crowds of students protesting, many of them girls and young women. They have been filmed chanting slogans, marching through the streets and taking off their headscarves in school courtyards, acts of defiance that are often met with harsh retaliation by security forces. Chanting "Death to the dictator" and "Woman, life, freedom," young women and girls have been at the forefront of protests around Iran since September 16th. With the start of the Iranian school year on October 2nd, the unrest has moved from the streets to the schoolyard. At a high school in a city near Tehran, an official from the Ministry of Education came to talk to the students about the importance of wearing the Islamic headscarf on October 3rd, but a group of young girls yelled at him, "Shame on you," threw objects at him and then chased him out of the school. In a similar scene, a representative from the Parliamentary Basij Forces, a branch of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, came to speak to a group of high school girls in a city in central Iran. The students responded by taking off their headscarves and waving them in the air while chanting, "Get lost, Basiji." This wave of demonstrations began as a movement against mandatory veiling laws and their brutal enforcement by Iran's morality police. A 22-year-old woman, Masha Amini, died after being arrested by the morality police for wearing improper clothing. Russian President Vladimir Putin signed laws that claimed 4 regions of Ukraine as Russia's territory, while his country's military struggled Wednesday to control the illegal annexed areas. The documents finalizing the annexation, carried out in violation of international laws, were published on a Russian government website. In a defiant move, the Kremlin held the door open for further land grabs in Ukraine. Putin last week signed treaties that purport to absorb Ukraine's Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia regions into Russia. The move followed Kremlin-orchestrated referendums in Ukraine that the Ukrainian government and the West have dismissed as illegitimate. On the ground, Russia faced mounting setbacks, with the Ukrainian forces retaking more and more land in the eastern and southern regions that Moscow now insists are its own. Zelensky responded to the annexation by announcing Ukraine's first-track application to join NATO. In a decree released Tuesday, he also ruled out negotiations. PM Edition takes another short break. Stay with us. Sports is up next. on Sekafa Zonal qualifiers.
Have any injury in the team. All the people have trained today and they are prepared for tomorrow's game. I think we shall handle them, we shall win them. I'm very happy that all the players are in good shape. We have done all the best to see that we win tomorrow's game.
I'm really happy to be given a chance to be on the national team. I'm really happy that we really performed well in the first game. Things are not easy, but we fight hard to see that we represent the country very well. We are looking forward to have our next win in our second game. We are going to perform well tomorrow.
With that story, PM edition has come to an end, but it is on Wednesday and on CTV on Wednesday. The big debate comes right after the news. Heston Munanura joins us now, already in the other studio. Heston, good evening. It is good to see you.
Yes, good evening, Bernadette. Thank you so much. Well done for PM edition.
It's been quite an eventful week for the country. I will not say much, but what are you discussing tonight?
Well, tonight, sitting in for Gabriel Iguma, the regular host of this show, tonight we are talking about matters UPC. Since we are celebrating independence just many days, just days to come. So we are talking about UPC and the party that had a chance twice to lead this country since independence. But currently the polarity within this party is really striking, as this polarity within the party seems to derail its working, and it's going to, it seems to be delaying the development of this party in the current political status quo of this country. This is what we shall be discussing tonight, what causes these contestations in this party that has had a chance to bite the cherry in leading this country since independence. As we look at the way forward, as we are going to celebrate 60 years of independence. Thank you, Benedict.
Yeah. 60 years of independence, a befitting topic. UPC, one of the founding parties in the country. We look forward to it. Like he said, join him right after the news at 10 p.m. with his group of panelists as they discuss all things UPC. PM edition has come to an end. I leave you in the able hands of Heston Munanura. Keep it CTV. The big debate is up next.